Today's number of the day is 27, which is current number of medals that the United States of America has in the Winter Olympics. Is that gold medals or is that total medal?
Total medals.
Ooh, not great. Are we in first place or are we in second place? Are we in
We're in second place behind Norway.
China?
No, not even close.
Italia?
Norway.
Norway, classic winter country domination.
Mhm.
Classic. 27 US of A. Here we go, baby.
Yeah, come on, we're cruising.
F1 America, baby! You're telling me these guys can turn left and right?
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the F1 podcast here in America. Alongside me is Nathaniel Lawler. Pew, pew, pew.
Thank you. You know, I couldn't do it without you guys, without you, live audience members. So thank you for clapping for me.
Stage is packed.
Man, it's a beautiful evening, man. We're recording here. It's later than we usually record. It's dark outside. Matt, what are you up to?
Dude, it's getting over cold/sick, whatever plague is going on.
Everyone's sick. The entire world.
It's Lainey, my daughter, got it. Megan has somehow managed to skirt it, but our whole church has pretty much gotten it. I feel like Megan's the only one on staff who hasn't gotten it.
Plague of biblical proportions.
Dude, and the annoying part is it's just a cold. Like, it's sore throat, congestion, almost feels like allergies, but just doesn't go away.
Well, hey, here's the thing. You're still showing up. Look, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to talk to the American audience about Formula One on the off season, even when they have a cold, and that's you.
That's me. We're right around the corner. Can't quit. All of our hundreds of thousands of fans listening currently.
Gosh, huge light audience again. Wow.
What about you, Daddy? What's going on?
Dude, nothing much. We are finally getting some snow here, which I'm excited about. I've been skiing, and I was skiing yesterday with a friend, and we skied down to this section of road, and we said, why not hitchhike back up to the top instead of walk back up? And so we put our thumb out, and then a box truck pulled over, and the guy said, hey, yeah, you guys can just get in the back. And we said, oh, great, like thinking that he's going to leave the door open. And and so we just climb in the back, and all of a sudden we turn around, and the door is just shutting down, and there is no handle on the inside of the box truck because people aren't supposed to ride in the back of box trucks. So Hanson and I are just looking at one another thinking, are we getting trafficked right now?
Like in Montana, Dave.
No, truly. One of my friends just texted me, and one of my ski buddies, and he's like, so are you still in the back of the box truck? And I said, greetings from El Salvador. So it's, that was quite the experience. Super nice guy. He did take us to where we need to go and open up the back, but it was pretty funny. But glad to be skiing again.
Dave, just imagine if he yeeted that off the side of a mountain on the pass, and you have no idea.
We're just, wait, why is it okay? No, it'd be so bad. So,
dude, it's funny you actually brought up skiing. Me and Megan were laughing so hard the other day because we were watching the men's slope style, like the half pipe Olympic Games. And then they had the big air one.
Yes.
And they were just ripping out these terms like 360 cork, butter, back butter. And I'm like,
butter.
Yes. And I'm like, what are they saying? This sounds like a meme.
No, dude, it's serious, man. You wouldn't understand, Matt. Snowboarding is.
I'm like,
dude, it's unbelievable. The snowboard super pipe men's final. Let's just get away from Formula One for a second. Men's Superpipe final was insane. Like,
did you see? Was that guy New Zealand or Norway guy?
Australian.
The guy who was wearing like the old school just hat, who ended up winning gold for I think it was a big air one.
Oh no, I don't know.
It looked like he picked up this old time ski hat from a thrift store, and he was just sick. And I'm just like, this is what like skiing is. Or
it was so sick. It was so sick. I mean, Yeah, no, those guys are insane. Half pipe's wild. If you've ever like gone to the mountains, like seen a super pipe, it's 22 feet tall. And then they go 25 feet out of the top. And so like these guys are 4 or 5 stories above the bottom of the half pipe. It's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah,
That
there's one
was
dude
nice.
who I think had the highest kind of like drop in at one point,
Yeah.
and they did it in meters, and it was 6.3 meters, and I'm just thinking of my knees would just collapse under me as soon
Oh
as I
my God.
land.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. No, those guys are insane. So that's pretty fun. I am not doing anything like that, but I am enjoying the snow. So that's me. But hey, here we are, last race of last season. We are still behind, but we're catching up. For context, we are in the mid-season break, or not mid-season, end of season break. We're between seasons. There's a lot going on, and we'll get to that later. What are we, 2 weeks away from Australia?
We are a
3?
couple weeks away, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting close, which is exciting. We're about to be ripping live podcasts, but this
Mhm.
is still end of season review, last race,
Looking
Abu
back on
Dhabi.
everything that was happening, giving some context, reviews of the main walkaways for those viewers who are new to Formula One, getting you into the sport, helping you understand it.
It's great.
There are so many little nuances that we can jump into, but we
Yeah.
try keeping on the surface because
Yep.
we know a lot of our fellow Americans are just getting into the sport fresh off a Drive to Survive.
Oh, it's amazing. Speaking of fellow Americans, let's talk about a Canadian. A Canadian that we could maybe give context to. Matt, there was a listener who reached out to you directly because they happen to have your cell phone number, which is most of our listeners. That
Mhm.
listener said, "Who is this Lance Stroll person you
You
keep
keep
referencing?"
talking about him,
And we do
who
talk about him a lot. People would think we're obsessed with him.
which we are,
In like
but
a negative way, we're
y
obsessed with him.
100%.
And I think that deserves some context. Who is Lance Stroll to you, Matthew?
Lance Stroll is a pawn on a chessboard. Just something that you just get rid of as quickly as you can. Now, Lance Stroll is a Canadian Formula One driver racing for Aston Martin. Current
Emphasis on ass.
Yes, and why we talk about this Lance Stroll character guy is he is the worst driver on the grid, and he has broken records for getting knocked out of qualifying the most. He probably has the most amount of races ever with the fewest amount of points. Fact check me on that or not, but it's
Yeah, I'm
probably
looking that
true.
up.
He's just arguably the worst driver on the Formula One grid. And why we have such an obsession with Lance Stroll is because his father owns a team and he just gets a seat. And there are so many other drivers that should be on the Formula One grid that are not because this Nepo baby just gets an automatic spot on the team. And arguably, we have the most competitive grid, which means grid is all of the teams, all of the drivers participating in the F1 sport. We have the best drivers, arguably, of all time on the grid, minus this Lance Stroll character.
Yeah.
So to me, he is just a waste of space.
I mean, yeah, this is crazy. He's been in 189 Grand Prix, and then let's see, he has had 122 races where he didn't even score points, which is crazy, and he's like still racing. Yeah, no, Lance Stroll, he's kind of like you would hope that F1 would have more equity and people who are like that it would be merit-based driving. Like people who are driving well would continue to show up season over season, and that people who are not driving well are getting filtered out. And for most cases that happens. You know, like you get these guys who uh don't show the promise that we maybe expected them to. You know, what's Giovinazzi? There's this Italian guy. Is that his last name?
Antonio Giovinazzi.
Giovinazzi. He was this like thought to be prodigy in earlier F series and in karting, had all this promise, showed up to F1 and just could not deliver, and then got the boot. I think he's in IndyCar now.
Same with Zhou Guan Yu, Chinese driver from last year, raced
Joe.
for
Kick
what were
Sauber.
yeah, but before that they were Alfa Romeo, I think,
Oh,
when he
yeah.
was racing with them.
Yeah.
But the Kick Sauber team, the green car.
Yeah.
But he was a great driver coming up, and a Chinese driver coming into the sport where we didn't have any Chinese drivers on the
Totally.
grid, and didn't do too bad, but of course got the boot, next guy up.
Got the boot, and Lance Stroll just does not get the boot because his
And
dad
it's
owns the
never in
team.
question. Never.
No, that's the annoying. That is definitely the most annoying part. Is that like when people are like, "Oh, what's the grid going to be next year?" Like they just already put Lance Stroll's name down, and so that's who Lance Stroll is. We don't like him.
Yeah. And people might look at me who know me and say, Matthew, you are a patriot. You bleed red, white, and blue. Do you just hate him because he's a Canadian? Yes, but no, he is also
Yeah.
terrible.
Matt is a nationalist. This is something that you have to know about him. He's a total nationalist. No,
This whole
and okay.
podcast was so we could listen to Formula One talk, not in an accent.
Yeah. Well, and okay, Lance Stroll has had 3 podiums. He's had a couple like good drives, but not. It feels like just there's not the career to merit him staying around and to have this like locked in spot. Anyways, so we'll get on. That's who Lance Stroll is for whoever was curious about that. We will continue to rip on Lance Stroll because he is everything that we don't like about F1 in a lot of ways. But anyways, so
Maddie, let's get into this race.
Let's do it. Talk about Abu Dhabi.
Jumping into this race review, general thoughts. Tell me your general thoughts. What do you think about the race?
So I feel like when I think of Abu Dhabi, it's the last race of the season. So I just go in with a lot of excitement because there's the potential for a lot of things to happen, things to shake up. I thought I was really engaged. I invited a couple friends over to watch the race at 6 a.m. with me and eat waffles. And we were all in PJs and it was great. And then my niece Hallie came over and I kept training her to say, I love F1. I love F1. Go Max Verstappen. So that was pretty great. So in general, the memory of this race was quite delightful. I was relatively entertained because there was always kind of this back and forth and like you're waiting to see, okay, how's Max going to do? How's Lando going to do? Because at the end of the race, we're at this like continual like 2-point to no point spread between them. And that was really interesting. In general, that track I thought is kind of boring. And the overtaking zones weren't great, but the fact that it was the end of the season, last race, and anything could happen, I was generally like pretty entertained. And I don't know, maybe that comes from, what was it, like 2021, Max's first world championship was maybe the most exciting lap in F1 history.
Also the most controversial lap in F1 history.
So yes, but to provide context for listeners, it was Max's first world title. Him and Lewis Hamilton were tied in points going to the last race. They had a really competitive season, and then right at the end, a safety car happened. Everyone got backed up. Max was able to catch up to Lewis, who was winning by a long shot and was going to take the world title, solidify himself as potentially the GOAT, having 8 world titles, more than anyone in history. But then Max was able to catch up to him, and in the last lap, pass him and win. It was so exhilarating. But that happened at Abu Dhabi. So that's kind of like in my system, I feel like. So I was kind of like thinking about maybe some of that. So I give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I wasn't too bored. But what about you? What's your general thoughts?
I was less stoked about it. As a Lando fan, context, Lando ended up winning the world championship this race.
Woo!
Max won the race though, but the difference was 2 points, and Lando finished in 4th and had just enough points to take home the World Drivers' Championship. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, so I was stoked as a Lando fan, and we'll
Okay.
talk about the Lando hate later. But as an overall race, all of the potential things you expected to happen or hoped would happen during the race didn't really happen. Like, there was no Oscar was told by the McLaren team over the radio, "Hey, you need to switch places with Lando because
Yeah.
Lando needs to win it and you're not gonna win it." I was hoping for some sort of drama like that just to see what Oscar would do, or for just more racing. Um, the only super exciting thing to me throughout the race was the Yuki Tsunoda, Lando debacle. Um,
Yeah.
but overall, I just feel like uh, it wasn't. I'll probably give it a 6 out of 10,
Okay.
maybe a 5.
Yeah.
We'll give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Because it
Middle
wasn't
of the pack.
terrible. End of the year, it's always like anything could happen in this race. So as a Formula 1 fan, you have 3 drivers that could potentially win it going into the last race, which is awesome. In years past,
Mhm.
Max had won
Mhm.
it with several races left to go, type of deal.
Mhm.
Um, but the part that kind of bummed me out, and I don't know if it's because I have hindsight, but in 2009, and before, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix used to be the final race of the season.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that I look at a racetrack like that, the one in Brazil, go check out our episode 1. Um,
Oh, so
so
sick.
much can happen. Rain can come out of nowhere 4 times in a race and go. Like, it's just an absolute nightmare for the drivers and team,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
such an entertaining race.
Yeah.
So if we had this race in Sao Paulo, I think it would be phenomenal. But we have F1 has a contract with Abu Dhabi until 2030, so it's going to stay for a while. But overall, the racing I didn't feel like was great. There's not a lot of opportunity for overtaking. Um, but when the race came to the end, I was stoked for Lando. I thought it was well deserved, but there was a lot of hate out there on Lando.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, Lando did it, and he raced better, got more points. There were so many like times throughout the season where Max made big mistakes, although his run at the end of the season was um gargantuan to come back as much as he did. But I also look at the beginning of the season, like there were just times where Max was kind of being silly, like and yeah, him like running into George Russell and getting that big penalty, like driving out of emotion early in the season. And frankly, like he probably lost the drivers championship at the beginning of the season, not as much as he could have won it by his effort towards the end. Like his effort towards the end was insane.
Yeah,
um
and during the middle part of the season, the Red Bull car was atrocious.
yeah,
And
something was off with
when
it.
we're talking about the car being atrocious, is so many different parts of the car can just be off where you lose seconds a race,
Yeah.
which is
And as
huge in
other people
Formula
are
1.
making improvements, like if you're not
Mhm.
matching other people's improvements, like you might have the same car week over week, but other people could be making steps ahead that end up making you relatively poor in comparison.
Yeah. Natty, I would love your thoughts on this. I've heard a
Okay.
lot of Max Verstappen fans talk about this being the best year to be a Max Verstappen fan, despite him not winning the drivers' championship. I've
Oh,
heard a lot of Max fans talk
yeah.
about this year, Max solidified him as the best driver of all time in Formula One. What are your thoughts on that? Would you agree? Would you disagree? Would you add, take
Oh
away?
gosh, the GOAT conversation is so there's two questions. One is like, is he the GOAT? And two, is this the most fun season as a Max fan? Uh, as far as is this the most fun season to be a Max fan? Maybe. I would say what I think about the season that we referenced earlier, 2021, with him and Lewis, where Max and Lewis were I mean, leaps and bounds above everyone else in the entire field. That was a really entertaining season to be a Max fan because it was him and Lewis kind of going back and forth and fighting one another really evenly. And they had all these crazy clashes. Like, it was a very, like, that was such an entertaining battle because they were so well matched. You know, I think of Lewis running into Max at Silverstone, which is the British circuit. And
Dude.
at the end of lap 1, Max and Lewis were going into turn 1, and Lewis clipped Max's wheel at a high speed corner. They're going like 160, and Max just flies off the track. It was crazy. He went into the barrier, and they registered him at 55 Gs going into the barrier.
Insane.
Which, like, there's just this like kind of Coliseum gladiatorial-esque fighting there. That was really fun. Or then was it, I think maybe Monza, the chicane into Monza where they like wrecked in, like, and Max's car went on top of Lewis's. So that season was really fun. And then it culminated in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I feel like that season really solidified as a fan of Max Verstappen on Team Red Bull.
Yeah.
That this almost like villain character within Formula One, because he was like this driver who would not surrender and would just rather ruin your race if you're going to try messing with them than try playing fair. It's like, I feel like, to your point, that season was phenomenal because you're like, who is this guy? You already know he's a good racer, but then he just rubs so many feathers the wrong way.
Yeah. He like solidified his reputation as the most aggressive driver on the circuit. Like, people understood at that point, like, oh, Max is going to dive bomb and go for overtakes, or maybe there's limited space, and he would pull them off a lot of times. But you saw a ton of people start backing off because they understood what Max was going to do, and people weren't willing to outmax Max. And yeah, that was a fun season. I think, there's so many radio messages of Lewis being like, oh man, this guy's the most dangerous guy on the track. Like, I can't stand this guy. He drives so dangerous. And, there's an argument for that. This season was fun for a different reason because Max was outmatched in his vehicle by McLaren. And so we got Max in this, role that he very seldom plays, which is he is the underdog. So from the whole time, he shouldn't have won, and you're kind of rooting for this guy who's this insane driver in a poor car that wasn't as well suited for this year and was still fighting. And so he was less of a villain this year in my mind and more of a protagonist. And felt like easy to root for. So a very entertaining season. I can't really pick between that and the 2021 season. They were so entertaining for different reasons.
That's super fair. I love that. And that's a great point of, if you don't want to go back and watch the whole 2021 season, just go watch Drive to Survive on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
They do a great job. But man, that 2021 season was phenomenal.
It was awesome.
But
is Max the GOAT? I'm not going to say that yet. I got to see kind of someone's whole career. So I feel like, he has 4 drivers' championships right now. And when you still have guys like Schumacher and Lewis, who's still driving with 7, you've got Senna had 4, did Prost have 5? I think it would be a hard argument to say that he's the GOAT. Is he the best driver on the grid right now? Absolutely. I don't think that is a question at all. But yeah, the GOAT conversation is yet to be determined. I think Max has to finish his season or his career as an F1 driver, and we kind of see then. It's kind of like the Brady moment. Like, no one really started like white knuckling Brady as the NFL GOAT until he retired. And you can like then look on his career with domination, and now no one really contests that.
Yeah.
But before Brady retired, no one was talking about it in like a concrete way. Like, and now it just is the thing.
I feel like it's always going to be like the Jordan LeBron GOAT conversation, who's better, and it's like
Yeah.
2 different eras, both phenomenal players, both GOATs in their own
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
In the same way, like Lewis is, when he retires, going to go down as one of the best, if not the best,
Yeah.
until maybe 10 years after when Max retires, and then that conversation shifts.
I mean, if Max ends his career with like 8 or 9 world titles, then I don't think there's going to be much of an argument, but he's got to do that first.
Yeah.
Like he has to get to that level, which I think he could. But anyways, back to the race, Abu Dhabi. Matt, you referenced the moment about Yuki defending Lando. Give me your feedback on that. What I thought, like throughout that whole time, and I want to hear your notes on this. I couldn't help but think of 2021 or 2021 and Checo doing the same for Max defending Lewis. In one of that last race, it might have been Qatar or Abu Dhabi, but like there's
It was Abu Dhabi.
This invitation for a teammate to defend for their other teammate's advantage. And what do you think about Yuki's attempt at defending?
Yeah, so to paint the picture for those, Yuki Tsunoda is the second driver for Red Bull. Tiny little Japanese guy, super hothead. And Lando is coming back through the pack, and Yuki gets a radio call in his helmet from the Red Bull pit wall. So all the engineers who stand or sit right next to the strip, that says, hey, Lando's a couple seconds behind, get ready to defend. So why would you defend him defend in the first place? Is essentially you're trying to hold Lando up enough that he can't catch up. He makes a mistake, goes off the track, any way to get him to lose points. Because the only way that Max can win the championship is Lando finishes 5th or below. So it's doing whatever Yuki, Max's teammate, can to prevent Lando from moving up the pack. So going down the back straight in Abu Dhabi, there's white lines you'll see on all races, either wherever you go. And essentially the rules are, if both tires cross over that first white line, so if you're driving down the highway, if you go totally off the shoulder, all 4 tires are off that white line, then you get a 5-second penalty by passing and gaining an advantage. Most teams will just tell their driver, hey, switch back. We don't want this 5-second penalty. So what happens going down this straight is Yuki's in front of Lando. Lando's coming up quick, getting ready to pass him. Yuki's starting to weave to try to defend. And at the last second, Yuki weaves to the inside or to the left, pushing Lando off the track. And I say pushing in air quotes because this is where the controversy is. Lando goes off the track with all 4 tires, passes Yuki, and then keeps going on in the race.
Yeah.
And the argument and debate here is Lando, yes, he did pass off the track and gain an advantage by overtaking Yuki and taking the place.
Yeah.
Where the controversy on the Lando fan wall and McLaren pit wall is Yuki pushed Lando off the track by weaving aggressively.
Yep.
So my breakdown, and I'm trying to delete any bias, and people will always argue with me, is the move looked insanely aggressive by Yuki, where he's weaving so much. And then at the last second, when Lando makes his decision, goes towards the inside, Yuki pushes over, and it's Lando goes off the track or Yuki takes out Lando.
Yeah.
And the other rule is you can't be weaving on straights. You need to pick your line, especially when you get to, you'll see these red hash marks on the side, and you'll see 200 meters, 150 meters, 100 meters, which is called the braking zone.
Yeah.
And when you choose your line, you cannot move under braking. So if you picture 3 separate lines of car widths in this lane, you pick your lane and you stay in your lane under braking. And if you switch it at the last second, then it's a penalty.
Okay. So, and basically you're saying like in those, like once you commit to something, you have to remain on that. And if you don't, remain on your like committed line, then that's against the rules.
Yeah. So
Okay.
essentially, 2 rules were broken. And what ended up coming down to it, Lando went off the track, Yuki was weaving. Both were against the rules,
Yeah.
but the FIA or the referees of Formula One said that Yuki started it and it was his fault that Lando had to break a rule. So
That kind of
then
makes sense to me.
in theory, it made sense to me. A lot of people were pissed because they wanted Max to win, rightfully so, and take the driver championship. Other people thought that regardless, Lando should have had to give back the position because he broke the rule, but then Yuki would get penalized. And then Lando would have to retry to overtaking him. So everyone was saying that, Lando should have given back the position. Yuki continued on. Yuki for sure gets a penalty, but Lando has to give back the position.
Well, here's a question. Do you think that Lando would have overtaken Yuki if Yuki wouldn't have been weaving?
I think if
Like,
Yuki
would he
would
have
not
overtaken on track if Yuki wouldn't have continued to be like a crazy driver in the middle of that straight, like you're saying? Like, do you think Lando would have passed him?
100%, because Yuki chose that middle lane. Lando, at the very last second when he saw Yuki chose the middle lane, he went to the left lane. And then Lando had the extra power to get past him and was already next to him. And then it's when Yuki moved to the left in that braking zone that pushed Lando off the track. So I think,
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense to me. I feel, it's kind of like, who broke the rules first and then like determine the field of engagement. That person gets penalized.
yeah. And so that's where I'm like, there's so much debate about it, but I'm looking back on it. It's like, if he didn't move, then Yuki would have just taken him out. And
Yeah.
that's where I was like, people can hate on this. It can be controversial. But the other part too is Yuki doesn't have the Red Bull seat next year.
And this was a perfect example of why.
Yeah. And
He had one job here. It was
to your point with Checo or Sergio Perez, who was former Red Bull driver who wasn't on the Formula One grid this year, but will be back with Cadillac next year.
Our favorite team.
He did a phenomenal job in the same way, but he just chose his lanes better, because if Yuki would have been able to defend in that area of the track, it would have been a bunch of essentially hard left and hard right turns where there's no opportunity to pass until the next straight, which when in those turns, what Checo did so well is he would go like 5 miles an hour, knowing that you can't pass him, and then you lose seconds on seconds.
Yes, it was awesome. It's like kind of sick. It's like something that like people don't. It's not explicit that you're like supposed to do it, but it is playing the team game, and that's kind of fun. And like the hope for Red Bull is that Yuki would slow down Lando enough to where then Charles Leclerc, who's behind Lando, can then catch up and then overtake.
Which Charles was pushing Lando to the end of the race.
Yeah, he drives for Ferrari and is from Monaco, and he is a good driver. And it was close. He almost got him.
Yeah,
he didn't.
But that was a controversy. I think the FIA, the refs of Formula One, did it right.
Yeah.
But you'll see pages on pages of Twitter of people arguing it.
Yeah, Twitter bots, man. But basically we got to the end of the race. Lando gets fourth. Max wins. Lando wins the Drivers' Championship, though, by 2 points, which is a fine margin. And McLaren fans are pretty happy. You're stoked. You're stoked for Lando. I was generally like, okay, yeah, like Lando won. I'm like, okay, fine. Like, I guess he won.
I mean, I fell in love with Lando in his Russia race when he sadly was going to get his first ever P1 and then chose to stay out on slicks when it started downpouring in Russia. And then ended up losing it. But speaking of X-Natty, I have a couple questions I wanted to bring to you. Let's rapid fire through these. I would love to get your thoughts. Jan William 117 asks, is he, talking about Lando, the worst champion in the last 20 years?
No. Max is the worst world champion in the last 20 years from the 2024 season. When was that it? No, 2023 season when Max was so dominant. When Red Bull won all
By
but
like,
one race.
I think he won by like 60 plus. You'll
Yeah,
fact check me there, but he
yeah. Red
won
Bull
by
won
so many points.
20. Like they only did not win one race. So in my
That was a season he won a race by like 45, 50 seconds.
It was dumb. Yeah. So in my opinion, I think that's actually the worst world champion because he drove excellently, but the disparity between cars was so much that it's like it feels like the least merit-based championship that I can remember. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, as a Lando fanboy, I don't think he's a worse driver. I think you have to be a phenomenal driver to win the world championship regardless.
Yep.
And you need to have it on point all season. And the reason why Oscar didn't do it is he shunted it in a handful of races. And like Azerbaijan threw it into the wall, was out for the whole race. If he would have finished that race, could have changed the whole season. So you have to be on it all season. And I felt like Lando learned from last season, took it into this season, and got the job done. But also biased Lando fan here.
Yep.
But Natty. Sunny Singh asks, who was the best driver this season?
Lance Stroll. Next.
All right. El Dudaco asks, are people finally going to give Lando his flowers now that he has won the World Drivers' Championship, or is all the unnecessary hatred going to continue?
No, I think it continues. I don't think Lando is a consistent enough driver to merit like his place. I think people are going to talk about the dominance of the McLaren car this season, and I think I think Lando would have to win another world title at a car that's arguably worse than, or just not the best car on the grid, in order for him to really silence people's skepticism about him. That's my take.
Yeah, and dude, you should have just seen how many questions were just bashing Lando, and I mean that was the whole race. Is Lando didn't deserve it? Did he deserve it? Whatnot? But
Yeah.
All right, Natty, let's wrap it up. Final thoughts. Any final thoughts on the race that we didn't touch on?
Man, no, is good wrap to the season. I was glad that it was entertaining. I was glad that it was down to the wire. It was fun. I wish Brad Pitt could have won the race. That would have been fun too. I missed that one. But no, you what I do want to hear though is your draft members. Matt, who is your loser of Abu Dhabi?
Natty, my loser of Abu Dhabi is all the Lando Norris haters. They can just
fanboy. You're a freaking fanboy.
I'm just capping on that. Is all
okay, fair
they're
enough.
losing. What about you?
My loser of the race is Lando Norris's mom's tear ducts. She cries more than anyone else on camera, and I really, I worry about her lacrimal glands and her tear ducts. I just she's always crying, and she was crying even more, even though they're happy tears. But I cannot imagine her being anything but the most dehydrated person in the Formula One sphere. So her poor tear ducts. Her poor tear ducts. That
magnified by those massive glasses.
Oh, she's legend of the week. Who is it?
Dude, my legend of the week is Kimi Antonelli. So Kimi is an Italian rookie driver this year, racing for Mercedes.
He's so wholesome.
Natty, this is why he is my legend of the week. He finished 7th in the Drivers' Championship, behind your winner, Lando, Max, Oscar, and then only behind Charles Leclerc, Ferrari driver, Lewis Hamilton, GOAT Ferrari driver, arguably, is to be a rookie and finishing above Hulkenberg, granted, terrible team, Fernando Alonso,
Lance Stroll.
To be a rookie and finish behind those names is insane, because Lando, Oscar, the best car all season. And then George, his teammate, which George has what is this, his 6th or 7th year in Formula One?
Yeah, at least that.
And then same with Charles, and he's driving Ferrari, and then Lewis, who has, I don't even know what decade of experience Lewis is on. But for
Oh,
a rookie
man.
to finish in 7th, I thought that kid had a phenomenal season, and I am really looking forward to seeing what he does next season. But
Yeah, dude, I freaking love Kimmy. I think if there's anything that's going to stop Max from getting those like additional world titles like we were talking about earlier, it's gonna I feel like it's Kimmy or Isaac Hadjar, but like some of these rookies that are like coming in with some pretty crazy promise. But yeah, Kimmy is a dog, and I'm really excited to see him in the next couple of years, because for this to be his first year, I mean, he's 18 years old. It's crazy. So yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
I'm
legend.
I'm looking forward to our 2026 season preview to talk about these rookies because there is a lot to talk about. But until
There
then,
is.
Natty, who is your legend of the week?
Also, Lando's mom. I'm doubling down. Not her tear glands, but just her as a mother. Man, I just who was happier than her to see her kid finally achieve his life goal? Like, it was so cool, I think, to watch her. Like, and there's been so many races, like his first race win at
Mhm.
Miami, where she's just there. And like, not many racers' moms are present, but then you're just seeing this like sweet British lady so excited for her kid. And that it was wholesome. It was a very, amidst like oil barons and everything at
Mhm.
Abu Dhabi, it was cool to see her. She was just stoked out of her mind. And
Yeah, and
she's just been so invested for so long.
I loved Lando's radio message of "I'm not crying" over the radio when he's
Oh,
clearly just sobbing.
oh,
It's like it runs in the family.
dude, it's awesome. It was awesome. So Landa's mom, total legend. What a beast. What a beast.
Well, Natty, we have officially wrapped up the 2025 season.
Yep.
Lando Norris sits on top of the Drivers' Championship. McLaren sits on top as Constructors' Champions.
Yep.
If you can't remember from previous episode, Constructor is the best team with the most
Yep.
amount of points at the end of the season. Um, we're done, and 2026 is right around the corner.
Oh, I'm stoked. I can't wait to wake up early and watch F1.
Oh, and then bring you all along with us. But until then, look for our 2026 preview episode coming out soon.
Coming up, here we go.
If you haven't followed us on X, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music, or wherever you listen to this,
Tinder.
do that.
Tinder.
I don't know if either of our wives
eBay.
approve.
We're on eBay.
Craigslist.
We're on Tinder. We're on eBay. We're on Craigslist.
MySpace.
Bringatrailer.com. Follow us on everything, man. We're there. Oh, MySpace. Yeah, you did say MySpace. We're on MySpace.
Hey, just type in F1 America and we're there.
Yeah, we're there.
But until then, we will see you. Goodbye.
Bye.